About 15 to 20 IGERT awards are given a year. 400 to 500 universities apply for them. We worked very hard to get the IGERT award.
IGERT is the Integrative Graduate Education and Research Traineeship funded by the National Science Foundation.
The IGERT program is a great experience.
IGERT is a gathering and collaboration of extraordinary talented scientists, social scientists, humanists, and artists.
So what IGERT set out to do was to say, what is it that these various disciplines bring to problem solving?
So what that means is I study biology for my PhD, but IGERT gives me all the other tools I need to make that biology useful to people around me.
For us, it's all about coastal ecosystem management. We quickly found it tedious to refer to ourselves as the Coastal Institute IGERT program. So we abbreviated ourselves SIP, so now we have abbreviations with abbreviations nested within them.
When I applied to grad school here, I applied to the oceanography program, but also applied to be a SIP fellow. That program was actually a big part of why I chose to come to URI instead of another place. And I chose it because I wanted to have some way of making sure that whatever I was researching in the hard science type of research, I was also gaining some skills in making it more broadly applicable.
The more I learned about IGERT, the more it seemed like it was sort of liberal arts for graduate students. And that was very appealing to me as someone who wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do with science, but I just knew that I wanted more of an education at the graduate level.
It was incredibly different from, say, the track that I went through, which was a traditional doctoral track.
We want to make sure that they're going to be respected by their discipline. So we want to make sure they have that depth. We wanted to make sure they were respectful of the breadth necessary to solve a problem.
We had people from economics, business, aquaculture, so all kinds of disciplines working together and trying to do that together. And I thought it was very powerful.
We're moving past the world where we had everybody with their own very narrow areas of expertise and looking at the world through a whole series of microscopes, and now we need to think much more broadly.
The scientific method itself actually evolved out of philosophical history, what we used to call natural philosophy, and that understanding scientific practice is really a matter of understanding the problems that engage scientists.
The problems that my research deal with is targeting the problems of poverty, of environmental degradation through market approaches.
I'm in biological oceanography at the Graduate School of Oceanography, and my research looks at the effect of nutrient enrichment in coastal mangrove systems in Puerto Rico.
I was born on the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, and in graduate school, University of Miami, my degree was Marine Affairs. I always loved the water, and as I'm growing up, going for a job, that's what I want to do.
I'm currently finishing up my PhD in biology at the University of Rhode Island, and I currently have a NOAA Sea Grant Canals Fellowship. The purpose of the fellowship is to get scientists who are knowledgeable in the subject area into legislative offices where they have a need for that content knowledge to help with legislation.
My research looks at the impacts of climate change to coastal environments, mainly from storms and sea level rise. For my internship, I worked with the U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS. We were looking at the impact of hurricanes to coastlines, specifically looking at hurricanes in the geological record and trying to distinguish those from tsunami events.
I work in biological oceanography, and my thesis topic focuses on the interactions of nutrient dynamics here in Narragansett Bay.
We wanted self-determination. That's what I was looking for the whole time, is our students to feel empowered, our students to be able to make decisions, our students to step up, take leadership, and feel ownership of their education.
They were sort of fearless about going into other disciplines and making a huge effort to communicate against, we all have the way we talk to each other, which is not probably the best way.
I mean, the hardest part was getting them to learn to speak and to communicate. There was a winter session where they locked them away for a whole week, and they came out pretty transformed. They couldn't speak before. You couldn't hear them when they were talking. And when they came out, they were able to give talks. By the end of their program, they were giving big speeches at the graduations and doing a great job.
We had so many field trips. Okay, that was a fun day in the Captain Bird. That day we went out to sea and we were taking a survey of the fish. It was my first time on a trawling boat like that, so that was a really cool experience. We're helping a scientist do the sample, we're counting the fish, lobsters, squid, scup, just a large variety of fish.
I think that science is almost worthless if you can't communicate it to society.
I write lots and lots of memos and briefs to our senator, and he doesn't want me to say, well, the carbon dioxide is 0.02. He doesn't need that depth. He really wants a summary of what I've read. What's the highlight? Why should he care?
The toughest thing when you get people into graduate school is to suddenly try to get them to flip a switch and turn into individuals that take charge of their own education. The thing we've been telling students all along, but we really haven't practiced.
Traditionally, scientists are not trained in communicating. And so that was a huge advantage of the program, is learning techniques just to stand up in front of an audience and get your point across.
Our lab maintains a fixed network of buoys that monitor water quality. They record temperature and salinity, oxygen, chlorophyll. The SIP program has made a major change in how I'm looking at careers post-graduation, and I'm really, really thankful for that.
I want to see people walk out of a place with a PhD not as a credential, but as something that allows them to continue to work in an area that provides them with joy.
My dissertation project is looking at how fish larvae are transported between the estuary, which Narragansett Bay is my specific example, and the shelf area, which is Rhode Island Sound in my case.
I'm interested in Hawaiian ecology, the specific issues that they face as an island environment. We got to go up into the crater of the tallest mountain on Oahu. It's Mount Ka'ala, and there's a bog up there. It's the only bog habitat on Oahu. So we got access to this restricted site, and we could go through and look at plants that exist nowhere else on the island, which was really interesting and a very rare opportunity for me.
We were doing site characterizations of the mangrove system. The types of sample collection we'd be taking would be leaves and soil for isotope measurements. We'd be sampling for sediment chlorophyll, that's to see the algae that's in the chlorophyll. And then this summer we'll be setting up our nutrient enrichment experiment.
Tajikistan is a small Central Asian republic, and we stopped at a village. Local population found ways to really use materials at hand. So this is a turbine manufactured by bare hands by the people that would supply electricity for them. It definitely changes your life in terms of that you really realize what a potential out there in terms of human ingenuity, what they can really make out of nothing.
Our students needed to step into leadership. I mean, these are people who are adults. They're talented. They brought many times life experiences beyond the academy. We respected them.
They were definitely interested in all the different perspectives on issues, and they were interested in learning about them.
We've been seeing that these students are very competitive and have been successful.
I'm still in awe every day. I get off at the subway and the Capitol's there, and it's really a cool feeling to know that I work there and that I am contributing to our government and I'm working in our nation's capital, and I really feel like I'm making a difference.
Taking the field trips gives you a lot more personal time with professors as well as other students. Being able to get that one-on-one time, those are kind of conversations that you don't get to have in class.
It takes an investment of time. There is no question about that, on the part of the student as well as on the part of faculty.
When you have such a great group of faculty that we have, they're in the back of your head all the time. You can hear their voices whispering in your ear.
The professors are one of the best parts of this program, and they treat you as an equal. We go into class and you're not student professor, student mentor, you're equals.
Whenever we have a problem, whether with writing an economics question or how to handle a geospatial data, we know who to talk to.
We got a trip from the National Park Service going from one part of the Cape onto an island and see where they're trying to encourage least terns to populate. Just a great day, and then in general I like it when I'm pretty spent after a day.
We took a field trip to Baltimore in which we were able to examine all the relevant aspects of our IGERT project, the scientific, the social scientific and policy, as well as the humanistic and cultural values.
It was a time for us to be involved in some very different activities, to go out and to feel the environment around us.
We learned from our students that they truly valued and they grew in their interactions outside of the academy.
I met a lot of people around the state, research scientists, fishermen, things like that, that have been helpful to talk to for my project.
It provided me with an opportunity to work an area that is outside of my comfort zone. I did the fish trawl, I counted the marine species, I wrote the lab reports, I tagged the horseshoe crabs. Throughout my interaction with my IGERT fellows, I was able to learn much more that I would do otherwise, just following the regular business school track.
One of the students said, "I'd really like to see us do a ropes course. I think it would be a very good bonding experience."
We had to climb a wall, and I was the last person to go, so I ended up having to dangle by one arm from someone's leg.
The funniest thing that happened to me, I think it's when I broke the electric trawl on the Captain Bird. The oil was squirting everywhere, and the captain got upset at me. It's like, "What are you doing?"
I remember getting sick myself on the summer course on the boat in Narragansett Bay. That was memorable for everyone, I think.
Have you any idea that there is a mangrove duck? I didn't know.
Ukraine doesn't have horseshoe crab. It looks scary for people who didn't see it before. Still, it was something that I've never done, and maybe I will not do it again, but it was definitely a different learning.
We somehow managed to succeed in having all participants in the IGERT program check their egos at the door.
The humility came from having to step back and think about how you appear to people outside of your usual discipline and methods of critical feedback.
I came in a fairly stubborn person, and I'm still a fairly stubborn person, but I think being a student in IGERT got me to listen to other people's viewpoints that were different than my own.
There has to be an extraordinary amount of trust between the faculty and the students. You, as a faculty member, are willing to take a risk because you believe in the validity of what those students are capable of producing. And until you make that leap, you're never going to generate a really top-notch educational experience.
One of the surprising things that I didn't expect to have happen was to see the way that the student's identity as an IGERT student really became their identity.
And this is really cliche to say, but it feels a little bit like a family.
They were my peers in every sense of the word. They weren't just the people I went to class with.
We worked together so closely on so many things. I think we became very good friends.
We came together and we did it.
I've been out of it for a couple of years. Those are still some of my closest friends.
And you knew you could call those people anytime in the future if you needed help with something that they had the expertise in that you knew you did not.
I think any university or college should want an IGERT program, if not more than one, and I frankly think the reason they should want it is because, one, it's incredibly prestigious, but secondly, it's the future. It's the now, never mind the future.
We look back, we reflect over the last 5 years, and I can tell you a half dozen things that we tried and were total successes.
And you learn a lot just from having people who don't study things from the same angle that you do.
The ability to work with somebody in communication or philosophy, ethics, that's really been, I think, the most important part of the program to me.
It is imperative that the American public, as well as the international community, understand the complexity of the challenges facing us environmentally as well as culturally.
I absolutely think that other colleges and universities should invest in the IGERT program.
This provides not only with the knowledge, but it provides with a feeling.